So this is the video for number 3. Once again, I'm adding f of x plus g of x. So that means I have 4x cubed plus 12 plus 2x squared minus 3x squared. No, I'm sorry, that's 3x cubed. Here, let me erase that. Plus 9. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to combine my like terms. I have 4x cubed minus 3x cubed gives me x cubed. And then I have 12 and 9 give me 11. And this 2x squared comes straight down. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and find a domain. So now I have a cubed function right there. Our degree is 3. And whenever you're finding a domain of a cubic function, it's still all real numbers. It's negative to positive infinity as your x values. All real numbers is the same as saying negative to positive infinity, just so we're all on the same page. And then last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and plug in. They gave me an x value of 2. So I'm going to go ahead and say 2 cubed plus 2 times 2 squared plus 11. So that gives me 37. And you can plug that value straight, or you can plug this equation into your calculator to get that value. Take a minute to write this down before I do f of x minus g of x. So now I have f of x minus g of x. That's going to be 4x cubed plus 12 minus 2x squared minus 3x cubed plus 9. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and take this negative sign and distribute it to every term. So that's going to be negative 2x squared plus 3x cubed minus 9. And this 4x cubed plus 12 come down just the same. Now I'm going to go ahead and combine my like terms. I have 4x cubed plus 3x cubed combine to give me 7x cubed. I have 12 minus 9 is negative 3, and negative 2x squared didn't change. So that's my final equation for f of x minus g of x. I'm going to go ahead and get the domain. It's still a cubic function, so the domain is going to be all real numbers. As we just discussed, all real numbers is the same as saying negative to positive infinity. My final step is to plug in x equals 2. So I have 7 times 2 cubed minus 2 times 2 squared minus 3. So what that's going to give me is I'm going to plug that into my calculator. And when I plug it in, I get 45. So there you go, number 3 on your notes. Now I have number 4. Once again, doing f of x plus g of x. So that's going to give me 5 fourth root of x plus negative 3 fourth root of x. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I forgot this plus 1 back here on my f of x. And then for g of x, we have negative 3 fourth root of x minus 2. So there we have it. And even though it's a negative 3 fourth root of x, you still added those terms technically. So I'm going to go ahead and combine my like terms. Since it has the fourth root of x, 5 and negative 3 are considered like terms. So that would give me 2 fourth root of x. And then I have 1 minus 2 is negative 1. So there you go. There's your equation. Now, whenever I'm looking for the domain of this equation, actually, I'm going to move that down here. So when we're looking for the domain of this equation, what we need to know is that my point starts at the vertex is 0, negative 1. I got 0 because there's nothing inside the fourth root of x, and then minus 1 is subtracted outside of it. So whenever you have the vertex of 0, negative 1, 0 is where your point starts. 0 is where your point starts. Sorry about the bell. So that means you start at 0 and you go on to infinity. The graph would look something like this, where you start at 0, negative 1, and you go on forever since it's an even root. Next, I'm going to go ahead and plug in this value of x equals 1. So I have 5 fourth root, I have 2 fourth root of 1 minus 1. You can plug that into your calculator and you would get 1. So that's your final answer when you plug in x equals 1. Take a minute to copy that down, and then I'll do f of x minus g of x. So, for f of x minus g of x, that's going to be 5 fourth root of x minus negative 3 fourth root of x minus 2. That means my first step is to distribute this negative sign to both terms. Now, what I have, so when I distribute that negative sign, I have 5 fourth root of x plus 3 fourth root of x plus 2. Oh, dang it. Once again, there's a plus 1 back here on the f of x that I forgot. I apologize. It was in both of those places. But let's go ahead and combine our like terms. So our like terms would have been 5 fourth root of x plus 3 fourth root of x gives you 8 fourth root of x. And then I have plus 2 plus 1 gives me plus 3. I need to go ahead and figure out my domain. Now, this time, once again, I still don't have anything underneath the x value, so my x value is still 1. I'm sorry, I don't have anything inside the fourth root. There's nothing in parentheses here, so it's just 0. And then my y value goes up 3. So, considering that's not the domain, that is the vertex. Since that is the vertex, then my domain is my x values. So it starts at 0 and it goes on to infinity. This time, if I were to draw a graph, it would start at 0, 3 and then go on forever. Next, if I'm to plug in x equals 1. If I were to plug in x equals 1, I would get 8 fourth root of 1 plus 3. And plug that into your calculator. Remember to type in a fourth root. You do 4 math 5. The root number math 5. And you would get 11. So take a minute to copy that down before stopping the video.